If everyone could find them a seat or a place to stand, we'll get started with all this good news here. I want to thank everyone for being here today as we continue to kick off our Refreshing the Finest campaign for our state parks across the state of Kentucky. This is the third of 4 of these events that we're having. We had the first one at Cumberland Falls with the governor. The second one was at Lake Barkley a couple of weeks ago, and this is the third one. We'll have the fourth one in a couple of weeks at the Lake Cumberland State Park. And what we're trying to do with these is get a lot of publicity, all that we can, to let the public know that we are reinvesting in the parks again for the first time in a long time. And I'm Commissioner Donnie Holland, by the way. We're here to talk about the $18 million that we have been granted to rework the parks, and we'll go through some charts and stuff later that shows how the parks have kind of been starved over the years, more or less, and how important this is to the future of our park system. We're very excited. It's time to be excited about this because one of the great complaints that we've had over the years is the state of the parks. Although the parks have managed to have great food over the years, still do today, and great rooms and lodging, a lot of the aesthetics had really deteriorated and some structural issues had deteriorated. So that's what we're here to fix. I'd like to recognize some folks that are here today. Representative Jill York. Hi, Jill. Representative Mike Denham. Mike. Greenup County Judge-Exec Bobby Carpenter. Bobby. I'd like to recognize Troy Combs. He's the son of Senator Robin Webb. She couldn't be here today. Where are you, Troy? Thank you for coming. Some other folks we need to recognize. I think we need to recognize Chris Peary and his park staff. The place looks just great. We covered every square inch of it this morning, and the painting is good, and the park looks good. So around for Chris. Olive Hill Mayor Kenny Frankel is here. Kenny, where are you? Friends of Carter Caves, always good to have the Friends group represented. I think we got a few of those folks here today. Carter Caves homemakers, they decorated, made the place look good. Thank you so much for your work, for some of those folks. We have a couple of retirees that we wanted to recognize. Denise Shibley. I butchered it a little bit. She's retiring this week after 16 years with the state park system. Congratulations, Denise, but I think she's going to be coming back quite regularly, she says. Okay, Sam Plummer here. Sam's not here, but he's retiring this week also after 38 years here at the state park and working the recreation. Now, Gil, do we have any other park managers here? Okay, Tim, where are you? Tim from Natural Bridge. What? Greenbow. There you are. They got them. Thank you so much. It's appropriate that we're here at Carter Caves. It's one of the most beloved caves. I think Chris likes to call it the best kept secret It's just an astounding park, and the work they've done here has really made it look good. We're spending in this group of parks that we'll talk about it a little bit later. We're spending $3.1 million, and in just a little while I'll detail that a little bit more. But most of that money, that $18 million, the vast majority is being spent in the resort parks. We have 49 parks, but the vast majority is being spent in the resorts because that's where so much of the work is needed. That's why we're so excited to be able to do this today. It was an up and down process to get the money, and our state representative certainly played a big role in helping us pull this off and making these improvements. I want to thank Governor Bevin. I want to thank the members of the General Assembly that helped in this process. And we want to thank Secretary Don Parkinson, our cabinet of our secretary, who really went to battle for us to help us get this money to bring the parks back. So with that, I'd like to introduce Secretary Parkinson.
Well, good morning. This is my first time to Carter Caves, and of course, Don and I have only been in government now for like 8 months, so there are a lot of parks. We have 17 of these big resort parks and 49 total. And this is a big state, in case you all didn't know that, but it takes a long time to get around and see everything. But it's really good to come here because it's in such great shape, and it's a beautiful park, and it's all freshly painted. So really happy to be here. This is a good place to have this press conference because the man up above me here is Governor William Fields, and he was elected in 1923. He's from Carter County, and he was the one who started the Parks Commission. We wouldn't be here today without him. So wherever you are, thank you very much. We appreciate it. He really got tourism started with the park system, and tourism is a big, big part of the Kentucky economy. It is the third biggest industry. It's $13 billion, and it's right behind automobiles and healthcare. So it's a big part of what we do in Kentucky. It employs 200,000 people, and we get $1.3 billion in tax revenue. So this isn't a trivial business we're in. It's an important business, and we would not be here. There's some water dripping on me from somewhere. We wouldn't be here if it had not been for the governor, and we wouldn't be able to continue to operate like this without our Friends group. So I want to also thank them for everything they've done. They even decorated the fireplace here, so we appreciate everything you guys have done. Tourism is important to us, and it's growing rapidly. More than most states, Kentucky tourism is up 5% in the last year, and room tax is up 11%. So it is and room tax is what funds all of our advertising for the state to continue to position the state positively. But we have a lot of growth, and the reason for it is, I'd like to take credit for it. Can't do that with a straight face. But part of it is 2/3 of the U.S. population is in a one-day drive of Kentucky. So we have low gas prices, we have tremendous value with our rooms and all the things that we offer the customer, and it's continuing to bring in more and more people. We have a lot of things that no other state has. One thing is we have more waterfront than any other state in America except for Alaska. Most people don't know that, but it's true. Particularly out in the western to the lake system out there, it is amazing how much waterfront we have. The other piece that no other state can talk about is 10,000 elk, and they're not sitting in a cage somewhere or on a leash. They're running around loose up here in eastern Kentucky, and it's grown so fast. 20 years ago, we had no elk in Kentucky. They've been hunted out and died off 200 years ago. Now we have 10,000 back. In fact, we have so many, we shipped some to Wisconsin 2 months ago. So there's a lot going on here. We have fishing, we have hunting, we have parks like this. There's a lot to be very proud of in Kentucky. That's the reason that tourism is going so well. But the park system has some challenges. And it's been fun to open parks all over the state for the last 80 or 90 years, but it's not so much fun spending money to keep them up. And as a result of that, people have not, this isn't one administration, no, this is like 30 or 40 years, have not continued to invest in the parks. If you look at this chart over here, we're going to spend $18 million in the next 18 months. 08, 0, 0, 0, 10, 0, 0, and 2 million to 13, 6 million in 15. So it's starting to happen now. And so it's long needed, and we're going to make this work. We have 300 projects, I believe, over the next 18 months. It's a lot of money going in. It'll be $3 million up here. We're not alone. The national park system needs $12 billion. So it's not just a Kentucky thing. It's a park thing all over America. But this is the first step toward getting it fixed, and it's time we do that. So we have 3.1 million here in the Northeast with Carter, Greenbow, Blue Licks, Butler, and Natural Bridge. And so we have a lot of people to thank for that. We particularly thank the governor for making all this work. We appreciate Senator Webb, who's been a strong supporter of the parks, Representative Denham, and Representative York. We wouldn't be here without you two, and we appreciate everything you've done for us. So thank you very much. Donnie, why don't you go explain to them exactly what's going to be going on here, would you?
I would also like to recognize Carter County Judge Executive Mike Malone. Where you at, Mike? Thank you for being here, Judge. We'll be able to do a lot of fix-up, paint-up, sidewalk repair. As Don mentioned, I can share this with the press afterward, read some of this off, but we have already, of the 18 million, completed a lot of projects. A lot of these projects can be done by our own employees. Our crews have done the painting here and painting at several places. And we've bought some golf carts around the state that were in desperate need. And, but mainly it's concrete, some roof repair, swimming pool repair. Here it's electrical. We're going to update the electrical process here at Carter Caves. We will, I think we're going to improve the electrical system and go back into the caves during this process to make it more accessible. As Don said, there are roughly 300 items around the state that we're going to repair with this 18 million, and as he said, 3.1 million of it will come here to these parks. We've got balcony work to do here. I think we've still got some balcony work to do and some railing around the caves to do. And we're just so proud that how much has already been done here at Carter Caves. The exterior has been painted, and the interior, I think it was painted just a little bit earlier, but really got this park looking good, looking really good for our folks. And I think it's booked up this weekend too, so that's a good sign. As Don said, it'll take us about 18 months to get all these projects finished, and they can vary some, but fundamentally it's aesthetics and first of all safety items will come first on our list. A lot of the parks, Ken Lake in western Kentucky, Lake Cumberland's got a lot of concrete issues that's being repaired as we speak. And a lot of that again is being carried out by our work staff. Now, many of these projects later will have to be bid out. So if you have local contractors that want to get involved in some of these projects, they just need to do the research on the websites, Kentucky websites, and figure out how to get into the system and bid on the projects. We really want all this work to be done by Kentucky folks. So just go onto the website and urge people to bid on this project so we can keep the money flowing inside the state of Kentucky. I want to emphasize at this point that we have 1,600 buildings in the state park system. Practically all of them need something done to them. And so we're not going to put up any new buildings with any of this money. This money is designed to repair what we have and to begin repairing what we have. There's probably not as much glory in repairing an old building as there would be putting up a new one and cutting a ribbon and riding your horse around and shooting your pistol up in the air. But we're probably not going to get to do a lot of that during our tour of duty, and our main job is to fix up what we've got, and this is a big step toward that. We're very appreciative to be able to do that. As Don said, the park system's number is $240 million. That's what it would take to bring it back to its heyday. We're probably never going to get $240 million. But a few things happened this year that drove the point home. Greenbow's fire. You're very familiar over here in this part of the state with the fire that occurred at Greenbow, where the roof leaked onto the switchgear. And then once we got into Greenbow, we found that the trusses were bad. And so it's going to be quite a while, probably mid-August, before we even have the bids back on the truss issue there. The fire part of that damage will be covered by insurance, though. That's kind of the good news, as the $18 million won't have to be used to repair the fire damage. Jenny Wiley had a fire, as you probably this part of the state is very, very aware of. Then at one point during the budgetary process, the finance engineers condemned the conference building down at Cumberland Falls. So it will have to be bulldozed away. And so we had, in essence, reached the point of a tipping point, I think is a commonly used phrase anymore. We were reaching a tipping point with the parks. We were going to continue shutting them down because they were catching on fire or they were being condemned, buildings condemned. So it was the point that something had to be done. It had been put off, as Don pointed out, for years and years and years and years and years, and spent for other things. So that's when we got a lot of help from the General Assembly and the governor and others we all came together and decided if we're going to stay in this business, then we've got to do some repair work. Theoretically, if you take the 240 number and as Don mentioned on the chart, you start looking at all the zeros, but if you take that back on a few years past that, and divide that 240, say, by 15 years, that means that about $16 million per year should have been put in over time to have kept the parks up to date, which, of course, did not happen for whatever the reasons. I think that when I was on the school board at Trigg County, it was absolutely mandatory that 3.5% of the income be put aside for deferred maintenance. When I was in the manufacturing business, we put 4% aside per year for deferred maintenance so that when the factory needed a new roof, the money was there. That has not happened in the park system for a myriad of reasons, and it could be budgetary or other reasons. We don't know that, but we've got to get beyond this tipping point. I want you to know that this will be spent to its very wisely, and it's spread around the state, around all the resorts, I should say, pretty evenly. And so we'll spend it in the best interest of the parks to help us revive sales and to get interest back in the parks and someday revive it back to the point, hopefully, that it used to be. I want to give, P3 legislation was passed this time. It passed the House and the Senate. It had before, but had never made it all the way to an approved bill. This time it did. And what that does, we're the only state that does not have some legislation like that. Every state around us has it. And what it does, we hope, and we see the regulations, is make it easier to deal with the state government. Don and I are both out of private enterprise. And so we're not accustomed to all the red tape that's involved in state government, but we were aware of it. And it's not a surprise. But P3 legislation will make it easier, especially if somebody wants to build on some of our property. There have been times when someone would want to build a new resort, and they would just throw up their hands and give up trying to deal with the state. Or, we're probably not going to be able to get $240 million. Hopefully, P3 will make it easier to get private enterprise involved. We're not going to sell any parks. That's not on the plan. But to have some partners in maybe running the parks or investing in the parks it gives us that opportunity. It's certainly not cast in stone, but it puts us on a par with the other states. I'd like to conclude by thanking everyone for being here. Your support is very important. Please keep using the parks and tell your friends and family. So what can you do? You can join the State Parks Foundation, the website. It's a very successful foundation. It's been around about 30 or 40 years. And their job is to bring kids onto the parks with science fairs, and so forth and so on. So that's the way you can support. Join the Friends group. You've got a great one here. Join those Friends groups. Bring your groups back, weddings, business meetings, anything that we can do. If we are successful with this endeavor and we show improvements, then we can go back in 2 years and maybe try to get some more help with the parks. So we've got to show a return on this $18 million in order to be able to, with a straight face, go back and ask for more help. So bring your kids and bring your grandkids, and your kids, you bring your grandparents and bring your parents, and just everybody bring everybody, and come on back to the parks. We appreciate you being here today. Now, what way I'd like to conclude this is say to the members of the media, we'll be here for follow-up with any media that's here. And I'd like to remind everyone that we're serving lunch here today at the restaurant. I invite you to dine with us here and help us on the process to refreshing the nation's finest park system. Thank you so much for being here today. Oh, yeah, they don't. I did.
All right, great.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.